Howdy y'all, this is Texas Gaming Industries here, and welcome back to another episode of my Let's Play of Railway Empire 2. In the previous episode, we arrived in, well, the east coast of the US in 1830 in our first mission of the campaign, and began building the layout of what will eventually become the large and prosperous Boston and Albany Railroad. And in this episode, we're going to continue on extending the railroad up to the city of Albany, New York, to access beer, which will be very much needed in the towns of Boston, Portland, and Bangor. Although, with the warehouse, I can actually use this to my advantage. With a warehouse, I can store goods that I can deliver later to other towns or cities that need the particular cargo. For example, once there's enough textiles here in Boston, the loads of textiles will just wait in the warehouse and then be taken up to Albany or to New York. Because the latter city does actually have a textile industry and a clothing manufacturer. And Boston will eventually need clothing at around 50,000 residents. But with that out of the way though, let's start on laying down the track. So we'll need to connect to Albany, but we'll have to cross a river to do so. Now then, let's see. 7%. Oh goodness, these grades are not good at all. 3% is the max. 2%. Let's see. Could we maybe try a different type of grade? Or are we stuck at this grade? I better activate the contour lines. Yeah. We're practically digging into a hillside. We could practically build a tunnel, but this will get very expensive. Although we were able to cut it down to 2% by doing this. I think 3% will practically be the maximum we'll do for downhill or uphill grade, I believe. Let's see, 2%, 1, and then build a bridge across the river. Actually, let's see if we can, there we go. And then carefully extend the tracks into Albany. We want to leave 2 other spare tracks open so trains can travel down to Bangor, Maine, just in case. We have a tunnel, but fortunately, since we paid our bonds in the previous episode, we could actually take one out, and we could use this to finish the track's construction. Alright. We'll add the next track here. Have the line out here. And this one out here. And then set a gauntlet, or gridiron, and a surfacing facility. Though it seems our competitor has actually taken operations into this area, as he's connected to both this logging camp and this cotton plantation, meaning clothing can now be fully manufactured in New York without the need of bringing in textiles from other towns. But, to be honest, we're actually doing alright so far. But once the textile industry gets bigger and bigger, this factory will need more textiles than this machine industry can produce. Now, one of the coolest things and additions that Railway Empire 2 adds is not only adding 8 tracks to stations, but bridges can now be 3, 4, or multiple tracks wide, compared to the original game's only 2 tracks wide. This means that I could easily build a bridge with multiple tracks on it depending on the circumstances. Now then, let's see. 0%. Oh, and there's also 5 different track plans that I can use and save for later. Let's see. 0%, 0%. That is good. Let's see, 2%, 3, 2. This coal mine could be useful for later, but for now, we're just gonna bypass it. 0%, 0, 0, 0% tunnel, or we can just build a 2, let's see, 0%, 1%, 0%, -2, and there we go. All we just have to do is just earn about 584,000 coins, and then we can build the extension. But for now, I want to at least set up a maintenance depot. And also set up beer here at Boston. As with the beer in the city, trains can deliver the beer to Portland and Bangor. Let's start off with a simple freight between Boston and Albany. BTN for Boston and ABY for freight. Well, ABY for, well, Albany. And we'll get the Grasshopper for this service. And we'll run a passenger service between the two cities. BTN, ABY, P. Swap the destinations and hire the John Bull for the service. Perfect. Now, passengers can easily travel between the two namesake cities of our company's name. It's in the name! Boston and Albany. But once the train arrives into, well...
Very good. What we're doing here really has the potential to revolutionize the way we have been transporting goods up till now.
Well, that's good at least. Anyway, all we just have to do is just bring in the loads, and then we'll start to really, really grow our operation. Let's see. Oh, 4 miles an hour. I might as well have a look at my staff. Also, another change from Railway Empire is the staffing. No longer you have individual employees being assigned to each train, but now you control on how much they work and how much their pay is. Better working conditions, such as lower hours and higher pay, makes them more happy. And our efficiencies can also be very useful once we cash out their bonuses. John Bull reached 33 miles an hour. That's nice. That which reminds me, I should add... Oh! I'm going to save that plan for a bit, but for now I want to try to connect this sugar farm to the main line. 7%, not what I was looking at, but it's okay. We'll send a service up to Albany to deliver sugar. Albany is already being supplied... Well, Boston already has a supply of logs. So I think I should just focus on delivering logs to both Albany... Just to Albany, because we already have our competitor here. Edison Terminal. We'll swap it to Track Plan 2, and... Let's see... -3%... -8? No! Let's see. -5. This is gonna be difficult. Unless... Okay, I'll have to build a tunnel if I'm gonna do this. Let's see. -5% hill climb. 4%. Okay. Let's see. 5%. Not great, but what can I do? Alright, we'll set the gridirons and then set an engine to pick up loads of logs to take down to Albany. And with our deliveries of meat being brought in, the city is starting to grow. Along with deliveries of wood and sugar, we should slowly start to also build up the city, as well as the first deliveries of textiles. Speaking of, where's our freight train? Okay, it has a 5-car train with meats and 3 cars loaded with textiles. Although I think we'll eventually need to replace the Grasshopper on mainline freights because the engine's power output is pitiful. We should also at least invest in a warehouse here in Albany to store grain, which can be picked up and taken to other cities. Let's see. $584,000. Let's see. Yeah, our company value is not big enough for another bond. But it shouldn't take us too long to earn enough cash to cover the expenditures. Let's see. Okay. Boston is really growing thanks to that shipment of beer. And Albany is also growing pretty well with the shipment of meat and textiles now. Let's see. I think we should also set up a line to pick up grain from this farm. Not only to supply grain for the brewery here in Albany, but also to supply grain for towns that need this product. We'll set up a line to go this way. And then we'll just set up another 4-lane track out here. Set the directions. Place the gridiron. And place down a servicing facility. Austin and Albany increases track to over 2,241 miles. That is pretty nice. And let's connect this line here to get loads of wheat into town. Connect these two. Set up the Grasshopper. And the city's supply of grain is well secured. Indian Transfer Act passed. Let's see. Well, we got enough research points for something new. The only thing that we can invest is the speedometer, which will increase the maximum speed of all engines, including the John Bull, up by 5%. So at least the Grasshopper will get a bit of a speed boost thanks to this upgrade. Let's see. Eventually, though, when Boston gets bigger, I do want to supply it with fruit. But fruit is at 45,000 residents, and liquor drinks only are available at cities with 60,000 residents. But I do also want to connect to New York, as this will be a very nice terminal station for now. Alright, let's focus on extending the New York line from Boston. We'll curve it a bit to the right, trying to prevent the grades from being too steep. We got a bridge, but that is fine. And then connect to this station with the 2 tracks. That took a lot of my money out of my account, but passengers could now travel to New York City from, well, Boston. But we're not the only company here, as in the previous episode, Marty Shiloh is now he's in charge of the line outside of New York. So we'll have to be very careful, otherwise he's going to cause us trouble. Let's see. We need 35,000 residents in Boston, but our passenger service between Boston to Portland, Maine should almost be done by now. Yeah, it just needs to be serviced, pick up more passengers and mail, and then it will set off on its maiden trip. Let's see, we need about, 115,000 coins.
I just received
Oh,
a grateful letter from the mayor of Boston regarding our new passenger line. That's really good press, especially now that we are delivering goods faster than they are consumed. Passengers can be a more reliable source of income.
well, it can be, but the passenger trains themselves will get bigger or small, or based on the city's population and the destinations they want to go to. But Boston should soon enough be at 25,000 residents and have that checked off this task mark. Wait,
I started
yep,
out with
there
a
we go.
small hardware store that I inherited from my father. By now, it has grown into a stately company, and with the help of the railway, it can become really big. We have already done a lot for the people in this region. Shorter travel times, increased transport of goods, and at the same time, our registers are ringing. As a next step, we should consolidate our success. Take a look at your list. I've added some more tasks.
Alright, so with these done, we need to deliver about 4,800 passengers and have about 30,000 residents in Albany. Well, the city is definitely growing, and we actually have a huge amount of cash, so which we will build for our extension into New York. We'll then extend the track a bit out of New York and curb it to this line. Actually, let's see. Can we get it to 40 miles an hour? I guess 39 will have to do. We'll do that and do this, so trains can now travel between New York and Albany. Place down a gridiron here and two separate facilities for for servicing our engines. We'll run a service between Albany, ABY, and New York City, which is NYC, obviously. We'll run it as a freight, set the Grasshopper, and then set up another line for passenger service. Boston Albany to New York, P for passenger, swap the destinations, and then set up the John Bull. At the same time, a service from Boston to New York. ETN, NYC, F for freight. Set up the Grasshopper for it. And then set up a passenger service between the two cities again. There we go. Let me see. Oh, we definitely have enough to buy out another bond. It's a bit risky, but this will allow us to finally build our extension to allow trains to run from Albany, all the way down to Bangor, Maine. Let's see. We'll place this here, and then we'll set up the directions for the track. It's a bit of a long distance, but this could be very worthwhile. We'll run a service between Bangor, run it as a freight, and set up the Grasshopper for the service. At the same time, another service to be set up, being the passenger service. Purchase the engine, and slowly and surely our operations are literally going to grow. Speaking of, has anything been kept? Oh, some units of grain are waiting to be picked up. That's good. That means a freight train will eventually stop by and pick that up. Beer cycles between two warehouses. Okay, what? Oh, darn, I don't have the cash to buy that and to bid that. Unless we start really raking in the money. Okay. Ah, crud. Yeah, the auction system is kind of changed very differently in this, as I have seen that this is actually very, very well, the auctions are
What
getting a lot
our
more
rails can do
profitable.
for a city is quite unique, a marvel of modern technology.
As I was saying, the auctions have gotten a lot more costly than they used to. Though the game I mentioned only had, well, I was the only one on the map. I had no other competitors. Let me see. Nearly 1 million coins to buy this weaving mill. If I bought it, I would have been able to increase its production. Let's see. The city has grown big enough for, well, not big enough for another industry, but not big enough for a special building, which consists of the library, which increases a city's fulfillment by 10%, a museum that increases a passenger's destination by 20%, and the university, which is needed to help a city grow from 90,000 to 100,000. And it says that it actually costs for scholarships to cover. The creator of the university will have to cover weekly costs for the scholarships depending on the size of the city. So I have to pay a little bit of money for those to cover those costs. Let's see. It shouldn't take us too long to earn a little bit more in passenger revenue, because our passenger service between Boston and Albany is now grown from 1 coach to 2. Now here's one cool thing. Not only we can ride the trains like in the previous game, but after going through this little freeze frame, look at that. Passenger car interiors with passengers within them. And even a look inside the mail car too. That is some pretty nice attention to detail. I think I should try to extend the line from Wilson Terminal to at least supply sugar into New York. But I'll have to build it at some pretty unique angle. Oh, 0%, that is what I'm talking about. I mean, 0% is... Oh, you gotta be kidding. Might as well try building this track again. $37 miles an hour. That is fine. 28, that's fine as well. We can now supply sugar to New York. Grasshopper as usual. It will have a full train of sugar because the fact that the industry already has a big full load. You know, actually, New York has gotten so big, I think I should probably start delivering fruit. At least to New York for a little while. Let's see. Let's extend the track, but extend it in one direction so it can deliver fruit to Boston later on once it gets big enough. Let's see. Add that, and then build up a Y to deliver fruit. We'll set the directions for this for the line here. Add that gridiron, and then run a service between the hop stop and New York City. Wait, why did it not fill up? Fruit is already needs to be delivered there. Hold on. It's supposed to be automatic. I do not understand why it's not working. Well, at least the sugar deliveries are helping with that. And Bangor is starting to grow thanks to the arrival of beer. Let's see. Did that... Oh! Well, at least it did pick up 1 carload of fruit. And I believe with that being said, I think we reached a pretty good ending point for today's episode. So, if you had enjoyed this episode of my Let's Play of Railway Empire 2, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to Texas Gaming Industries for new video uploads every Friday or Saturday, depending on my outside schedule. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video, or next episode. So until then, so long, partner.